Hello and welcome to this new section, and in this section we will actually go ahead and learn a few more important concepts in Django. So in this particular section we are going to learn about virtual environment, sitemaps, pagination, search and filtering, and groups and permissions in Django. So these are some special features which can be used in Django to make your application much more better. So for this specific section, we are actually going to make a completely different web app, and this is actually going to be just a sample web app to give you guys an idea about these following features. So the first thing which I would recommend you guys to do is that I would recommend you to create a new folder, and we are actually going to create a new project in here. And the very first thing which we are going to learn in this section is we are going to learn about something which is called as a virtual environment. So right now I actually have a folder which is called as New Pro on my desktop, and what I will do here is that I'll navigate down to desktop/New Pro, and in here what we will do is that we'll create our very own Django project. But this time, instead of directly creating the Django project, we are actually going to use something which is called as a virtual environment. So what exactly is a virtual environment? So a virtual environment is nothing but it's something which allows us to create an isolated environment to create our projects. So what do we exactly mean by that? So let's say if you want to create a project, and let's say if you want to run that project in multiple Django versions. So currently right now we have a version which is Django 2 installed on our computer. So let's say if you want to install another version of Django on your computer for this specific project. So in that case what we can do is that we can create an environment and we can install any version of Django which we want in that environment, and then we can create a project and use that environment on that project, and we can run that project using any Django version. So a virtual environment is nothing but an isolated environment which we can create for a project in which we can install any version of Django or any version of any software for that matter. So let's now learn how exactly can we go ahead and use virtual environment. So the very first thing which you need to do is that you need to go ahead and install virtual environment. So in order to install virtual environment, the first thing which you need to do is that you need to type in pip install virtual env, and when you go ahead and hit enter, pip is actually going to install virtual environment for you. So as you can see in my case, now the virtual environment is installing, and it says that successfully installed virtual environment version 16.7.3. Now that the virtual environment is installed, let's now learn how you can go ahead and create a virtual environment. So whenever you want to create a virtual environment, first of all you navigate down to the project where you actually want to start up your Django project. So I actually have this New Pro directory on my desktop, and now in order to create a virtual environment, you type in virtual env, and then you actually need to name this virtual environment as something. So let's say I name this environment as env itself. So I type in env and hit enter, and now it's actually going to create the virtual environment for us. As you can see, now the virtual environment has been created, and now if you actually have a look at this project folder, as you can see we now have this env directory right over here. So now in order to use this virtual environment, you first need to go ahead and activate it. So how exactly can you go ahead and activate this virtual environment? So the steps to activate this virtual environment for Windows and for Mac users is different. So I'll show you guys how to do it on Mac. So on Mac what you do is that once you enter this project folder, you first cd into the environment. So we'll type in cd env. So when you are into this env folder, you simply type in source space bin slash activate. So when I go ahead and hit enter, as you can see, now you can see this environment or the virtual environment name inside of parentheses right over here on the left hand side, which means that the virtual environment has been now activated. So now how exactly can you activate the virtual environment in Windows? So on Windows, in order to activate the virtual environment, first of all cd into the environment, so type in cd env, and after going into the environment, you simply go into the scripts folder, so you type in cd scripts, and then when you are into the scripts folder, simply type in activate. So for Windows, simply type in cd env, then you type in cd scripts, and then you type in activate. So this is how you do it for Windows. So in my case, as I'm using Mac, I have followed these steps for Mac. And now once the environment is activated, you will get this sign right here, that is, you will have the environment name in parentheses. Okay, so now once it is activated, let's now go ahead and go back to the main directory. So currently we are into the env directory, and you can actually create a project in this env directory as well, but it's recommended that you don't do so. So let's go back. So cd ... So we go back to the new pro here. And one more thing which you need to learn over here is how exactly can you go ahead and deactivate this virtual environment. So in order to deactivate the virtual environment on Mac as well as Windows, you can simply type in deactivate and hit enter. And as you can see, the virtual environment is now deactivated. So again, to activate it back, you can again go to cd env, then I can simply type in source bin /activate, and the virtual environment is going to be activated. Now once the environment is activated, let's learn how exactly can we go ahead and install Django using this environment. So first and foremost thing which you need to do is that you need to go back to your main directory, which is new pro over here, and to do so you simply type in cd ... and once you are here, you can create your Django project here. So even before you create a Django project, you now need to understand that this is a new environment, which means that Django is not going to be installed by default in this environment. So now you need to go ahead and install Django right from scratch. So here we type in pip install Django, and now as you can see, Django is going to be successfully installed for you from scratch. So we are using Django 2.2, and as you can see, Django is now successfully installed. So now once Django is installed, we can now go ahead and create a Django project. So as usual, we type in the command as Django admin start project, and we will name our project as my site, hit enter, and then cd into the my site, and let's see what do we have here. So if you go over here and if you type in Python, this should actually be Python 3 manage.py run server, and hit enter, and as you can see, the server is now up and running. So let me just open up the browser, and if we go over here and hit refresh, as you can see, our Django project is now up and running on the browser, which means we have successfully created a Django project using the virtual environment. So that's it for this lecture, and I hope you guys were able to install virtual environment, activate the virtual environment, install Django using virtual environment, and eventually run your project on the web browser. So if you have any issues or problems regarding installing virtual environment, let me know in the Q&A section, and I will be there to help you out. So that's it for this lecture, and in the next lecture we are going to actually go ahead and create a dummy model, and we are going to learn something about pagination. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.